Christian from Theo and Harris, and this is my dad.
Rolly.
That was a little delayed. Rolly, you there? Let's try it again. What is up, Watch fam? Happy Friday, and welcome to Liquor Run. I am Christian from Theo and Harris, and this is my dad.
Rolly.
Today we're going to be drinking a French aperitif.
Yes, Lillet.
Ice cold, Lillet, and talking about a very controversial release by H. Moser. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, before we get into the Watch World drama, let's do a quick wristwatch check. What are you wearing?
I'm wearing my my fave.
Love it.
All right, the GMT, faded GMT.
Totally faded out.
And this watch just has such a special place in my heart.
And I'm wearing the antithesis of that as far as in the Rolex line. It's a Day-Date, which I think is pretty cool on a Jubilee bracelet, right? It's a little different.
It's different.
Usually people see them on presidentials.
Yes.
But, you know, every once in a while throwing it on an oddball, I think, you know, is kind of cool. So we're both wearing classic Rolexes, but
we are.
It's a little bit different.
That's right.
So let's start pouring this.
All right.
And let's start talking. So H. Moser is an interesting brand. The Swiss manufacturer. My gut says they're not really well known in the mass arena. I think that's pretty well founded. But any watch geek, to any level, knows of the company H. Moser, right? And really, what has helped them achieve kind of notoriety has been delicious. Has been some of their marketing. Not too long ago, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, they released the Swiss Alp watch, right, which was basically a mechanical, Apple Watch ripoff.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of funny. You know, that was a really good marketing ploy.
Good shtick.
It was, but it didn't offend anyone. It was cool. We moved on. They did the Swiss cheese watch, which was kind of funny.
I remember that. Very catchy.
And that was, the actual case was made out of cheese.
Yes.
Which is kind of funny. And that watch kind of served as, to mock or to point out other Swiss manufacturers calling themselves Swiss, but not being Swiss.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like outsourcing parts.
Completely.
Definitely called people out.
So they want to be irreverent.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny because their watches are fairly traditional. You know, it's not like a company like HYT or a company like Urwerk. You've seen them before. They do things so differently.
Yeah.
H. Moser, interesting manufacturer, but they're not really like this super irreverent as far as in their manufacturing. They're pretty classical. And now they're back at it again with what they call the Swiss Icons. And here it is. Let's see if we can kind of go through what's being called out here, right?
Right.
Panerai dial.
Panerai dial.
A Pepsi bezel.
Pepsi bezel.
Which you have on your wrist.
Yep.
Royal Oak bezel, the shape of the bezel.
Yes.
Panerai crown.
Yes.
Those are Breguet hands. I don't know if you recognize that, but those are Breguet hands.
I didn't Actually, I do recognize that.
Those,
yes,
right?
You're right. Yeah,
you just don't recognize them on a watch like this.
Right there, yes.
But on a classical watch, you would know it.
Yeah.
We've got a Nautilus-like bracelet, and the dial is actually kind of a Nautilus pattern, and the IWC, logo. Basically.
Absolutely. It's like Frankenstein. Frankenstein.
Igor. Really, I mean, the gall. This is ballsy. They're not the biggest guys in the room.
They're not the biggest dogs.
Right. So their bullying is almost coming from a pipsqueak, which is kind of funny.
What do you think they're trying to say? What's a statement they're trying to make?
Even in the video, it kind of make it clear. Moser believes that all of these watch brands are not really watch brands. They manufacture watches, but really they think that the bar for what makes you an actual manufacturer is higher. They don't think it's just getting an artist like Alec Monopoly or getting a marketer or getting a sports endorsement or getting Leonardo DiCaprio or whatever. They're trying to say that being a watch manufacturer, getting respect by them as far as watch manufacturer, you need to be dedicating a lot of time, resources into innovation, and actual watchmaking.
Got it.
As opposed to marketing.
Got it. It reminds me of wine.
How?
Well, like in Burgundy or Bordeaux, you've got these big houses that put out wine, year in, year out. And granted, they're good wines, but sometimes they don't really live up to the price
and the prestige.
And the prestige that they really... for what they're really worth.
Right.
Okay.
Because they're big numbers.
Because they're going by the name and it
comes down to the name.
And it's the name
and the label.
and the label, and so people are overpaying. The same thing happens in California too.
Right.
So there's a certain cachet to a name, and you're way overpaying for the wine. It's not worth that.
Right.
It's not worth $200 for the bottle.
So this would kind of be if you were a California Pinot, grower or manufacturer, and you were a small dog making really high quality stuff. You being Moser, for argument's sake, and you saying pick an overpriced brand in California.
I'm just going to throw out Opus One.
Okay. Oh, for argument's sake.
So if you ask anybody that really knows about wine, they'll tell you Opus One is overrated.
So for argument's sake, let's take that for truth. And I'm not necessarily saying it is, but to take the conversation for truth, Opus One is overrated for conversation. That would be you saying, I'm making really good wine. The money, all my time and money is going into the production of wine itself. And you're the big dog, and really your prices or your company is not predicated upon the quality of your wine, but rather, the cachet of your brand.
100%.
That's what Moser's saying.
That's a good example, right there.
So, and I'm sure it applies in probably every world.
Yeah, and you can, and right across the street, you cross the street and you go to Groff, and you're getting fantastic wine, Cabernet Sauvignon, from very, very with the same terroir, and you're paying a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, I mean, look at Hermes makes some of the best watch straps in the world, right? They do. Hermes straps are really the only straps that I have ever held and said, okay, these are just as good as the straps that we manufacture with Jean Rousseau. God's honest truth. I look at them and I say, wow, those straps are phenomenal. But I know that their not only is their cost so much less because it's Hermes, but their prices are double, triple.
Well, because they have to keep that image.
Exactly.
They're not going to lower the price. Because they have to keep that certain cachet.
Yeah. So when we promote our Jean Rousseau straps, at which we have 5 straps now, and the narrative is the same for almost the styles are different. We're delivering insane quality, just like Hermes. But without all that, total marketing bullshit hype that brings the price up from $200 to $400 or $200 to $500, which is basically what Moser's saying here.
So do you like what they're trying to say?
To some degree. I don't think that all the brands implicated here are so guilty. I just don't. I agree in principle. But what are you making fun of Rolex for the GMT? Like, their whole point of existence is, yes, innovation. You can see it every year, and new patents and new development. But classic design, classic things. So no, to change the GMT out of an oyster case, out of an oyster bracelet, and innovate the complication, that's not Rolex. It wouldn't make any sense.
I think in many respects, this conversation reminds me of when we were watching the Anthony Bourdain episode in Paris when he was with Eric Ripert. And Eric really took a beating because here he has one of the best seafood restaurants in the world, Le Bernardin. And he was being beat up pretty good. So Ripert said, well, you can be both. One night you can go to the opera, but yet you can go to a rock concert too the next day, right? So you can live in both worlds.
Right. Whereas those other guys are kind of irreverent.
They're irreverent.
So even though Ripert owns one of the best restaurants, in New York, most famous restaurants in the world.
Absolutely.
The young dogs are looking at the boss and saying, like, yeah, okay.
So, in some ways, H. Moser represents those young chefs, in Paris that are really putting out fantastic food at a lower cost, casual, like very
and
casual.
And forget about the food, not the pomp and circumstance.
Exactly, the pomp and circumstance of Le Bernardin or
food,
Joël Robuchon.
You're right, man. Food it's so true. I mean, if you say you're buying the food, you're tricking yourself. You're buying an entire experience.
Yes, you are.
So a restaurant is not a purveyor of food primarily. It's a purveyor experience, right? So if you look at it that way, it's untrue. But if you look at it as a purveyor of food, you're saying, really? I mean, was this that good? Was this meal really worth $1,100? I don't know. Was the night worth $1,100? We can have that conversation.
That's a great question.
Much more so than the meal itself. Sure. Many instances. I'm not calling it Le Bernardin. I haven't even eaten there, so I can't speak to that. But what was super interesting here is just a day or two after the release of this watch, which was going to be auctioned off, and then the proceeds were going to be donated to the development and education of Swiss watchmakers, which is very cool. They totally rescinded everything. They took down the video. They removed all statements about this watch and this marketing plan on their social media and their website, and now the watch will no longer be auctioned.
No.
So you got to wonder what happened.
What happened?
Did an executive from Swatch Group pick up the phone and say, "Cut the shit You're picking a fight you can't end.
Right.
You know? Or did they wake up and say, you know what, I think that was nasty. You know, I have a hard time believing Moser woke up the next day and was like, you know what, guys, I think we were being a little bit rude.
Right.
You know how long it took to develop this?
Yeah,
it took months.
Yeah.
You know, they've been doing this for 9 months.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, so no, they didn't just wake up and say on the day of the release, you know what, that was mean. You know, someone basically probably put a gun to their head. You know, so props to Moser for doing it. I'd love to know why they removed the marketing campaign. Because if you're gonna be this irreverent, in my opinion, I have no problem with that. You gotta have the cojones, you know, to back it up.
Gotta back it up.
And when push comes to shove, I don't think you can step down. That's like talking a big game and then not following through.
Yeah.
You know.
Will this watch be available commercially?
No, that's it. It's over. It was a one-off, and now they're not doing anything.
We'll never see it again.
Never. It won't even be auctioned.
Interesting. Maybe it was just nothing but a publicity stunt. They knew well in advance that they would never even hit a market once.
Right.
And the press they got by creating this one became their actual marketing campaign for H. Moser.
Maybe it was a genius.
It's a genius move.
Oh, maybe. You know, this is your oldest maybe.
It could be. It could be. But we're talking about H. Moser. Yeah. We're talking about H. Moser, and your fans will be chirping about it.
Yeah, that's interesting. What do you think? Did they plan this whole? Did they plan to take it down? Did they plan to never auction it off? You know, and then to make it look like we're inventing this this totalitarian Swiss watch regime that called them in our minds and said, pull it down.
I mean, look,
that's cool too. Not likely, but cool.
It got out to Hodinkee. I mean, it got press.
Of course, it got press. It still wins.
Yeah, it still wins.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Friday, and I will see you all Monday.